Hey, everybody. Good evening from Phoenix, Arizona. My name is Melinda Russell, and this is Let's Talk Racing Live. I'm also the founder of the Women's Motorsports Network and the International Women's Motorsports Association. I apologize if my camera's a little off tonight. I had to get a new webcam. My laptop camera died on me. And so hopefully it'll work okay. I'm trying out a new one. And so we'll go from there. But regardless of that, I'm sure you can hear me. And that's the most important part. And even more important is that you can hear my guest. So my guest is Kim Chapman. Believe it or not, she has a job that I never knew existed for NASCAR or any other racing, um, you know, series, I guess you could say. But now that I've thought about it, Kim, it makes perfect sense because you've got TV personalities that are on TV. And so Kim is a makeup and hair artist for NBC. And so I'm going to just let you first, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself, about your family, where you live, anything you want to share. And then we'll talk a little bit about your job and how you got into that.
Well, hi, Melinda. Thank you so much for having me on tonight. I've had a very, very interesting path to here. I'm originally from New York, and my husband and I moved down to Mooresville, North Carolina in 2006 with our three boys who were pretty young at the time. I had already been a hairdresser and a makeup artist for quite a while. I was a platform artist for Revlon. I was very involved with the NCA, the National Cosmetology Association, and we moved down to Mooresville. I knew nothing about racing, and I just got lucky with a client, a salon client, whose husband worked um, in NASCAR productions, and I asked him about getting extra work doing hair and makeup since that's what I've always done, and that's really how it started. So I've worked on everything from documentaries to public appearances. And again, in the beginning, I knew absolutely nothing. I still don't know a lot, but I was fortunate enough. I worked 2 seasons for Inside NASCAR on Showtime, and I was so oblivious that the night before each show, when I got my crew sheet and it told me who the guest was, one of my sons would Google them so I would know what they looked like, so I would recognize them when they came in and not offer to do makeup on their PR person. And also to get a little background, to find out, if they, what kind of family they had, if they just had a new baby, just like they're only in my chair 10, 15 minutes, but just a courtesy to recognize things that they're doing
Mhm.
and put them at ease. So so I still have a little salon and I do hair and makeup in my little studio, but I have the best of both worlds. Yesterday I did a shoot for Fox with three of my fellow hair and makeup artists, and it was a big hanger shoot with all the Fox NASCAR
Mhm.
talent, and that was so exciting. Big production that we did. It was really, really awesome to be a part of that.
I saw on Facebook where they had done something yesterday, and then um, somewhere they are doing a lot of interviews and things with the drivers and that. So that might have been what you were a part of.
Right.
Yeah. So that is pretty exciting. And to think that, it's about relationships, isn't it? So
It
you
really is.
did the hair and makeup for a gal, you got to talking, and then she referred you because she liked you. And so then, the fact that you Googled those drivers and took enough interest to find out something about them to make them feel like you knew them, you were comfortable and talking with them, that goes a long way for not only building a relationship with those drivers, but also with both NASCAR, NBC, Fox, whoever you might be working with.
Well, I being so out of like a fish out of water. I mean, the hair and makeup part that I have down, but I think the years working behind the chair in a traditional salon also taught me about caring about the person in my chair. And you may not build as much of a relationship with talent for a production as you do like in a salon setting where you
Mhm.
have more time.
Right.
But I think you still have to care about that person, because when they go in front of the camera, they need to not have to worry about at least that aspect, to know that somebody cares, made them look their best, is going to
Mhm.
make sure that they present as well as possible. And they shouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that's a part that we don't often think about, and so that's one of the things that I thought was interesting. I actually met a gal at Phoenix at the NASCAR race who also does what you do, and it just happened. My friend Lori and I were walking around, trying to find women that we wanted to talk to, and all of that. And so, hang on here a second. I don't know why. Um, I'm getting people logging into the studio instead of doing um, hmm, the chat. So I'm not sure what's happening there, but I apologize for that. Let me fix this real quick.
Okay.
Um, I'm not sure why they're not coming through on the comments, but anyway, I met a gal that does what you do, and I was just like, what? I was so amazed because one of the things that I love to do is I love to share with young girls, especially, but really any age, the opportunities involved with motorsports that you might not think about. And hair and makeup for the TV stations, or like you said, for a production or a live event or whatever it might be. I had never thought about, well, who does their makeup or who dresses them. I did hear Dale Jr. one time talk about how NBC picks out his clothes,
Yes.
you know, and so, and I understand that, and I pay more attention now, Kim, when I'm watching TV, because I see now that they all kind of match, which is kind of funny. But yeah. So anyway, it's just really interesting about what you do. And so, give me if you're going to do hair and makeup on a race day, tell me, what does that day look like?
Well, I did a lot of races. I worked probably about 25 races this past year for NBC. So I got to travel one of the most awesome crews. It's a little harder work as far as, dragging all your equipment and everything, but they treat their crews so well, and the crew is so tight knit. So I would show up the day before the actual race, and it's usually 2 days of working. It's Xfinity race day and then the Cup race day. And
Hmm.
this past year I had a hard card, which was like a permanent ID, which was
Yeah.
made me feel really a part of things.
Exactly,
And
because those are hard to come by. I had one for 2 years, and then after COVID hit,
ah,
they were very stingy, and for good reason as to who got them. And so, trying to get that back, um, it makes it difficult. And so, good for you that you had that.
I think it also made it very easy, much easier for the higher ups that put everything, because to have me come and apply for a pass to the race every time, and then I need special passes to get into the infield or into the pit box or up in the booth. I need to have a little less restrictions on where I go, so it really just made it less complicated for everybody. So my normal weekend would be I would pick up my parking pass. I would set up my gear. I usually have one side of a trailer. Trailers divided into three sections where I usually am. The center section is larger, where they have the production meetings with everybody from the writers to the talent itself.
Hmm.
And I have one side where I'm all set up for hair and makeup. And then when they're ready, my talent comes in. For the men, it's basic grooming. We'll trim necklines and trim eyebrows. I'm a mom, so I'm pretty well prepared for anything. There's a little bit of the mom in with the makeup
Hmm.
artist. So we have everything from electric razor for to dental floss and lubricant for contact lenses. So I pretty much have everything, sewing kit, anything that they might need. And the men are pretty simple. We really mostly want to take shine off. It's been a little interesting bringing like kind of like an old school macho thought to not be so afraid of getting makeup and their hair done for camera. Have to assure them that they're going to still look like themselves, and that with HD film, I mean, everybody needs a little bit of something. Nobody
Right.
goes unscathed on camera now.
Right. And people are so judgmental about everything, aren't they? And so you have to
Yes.
reassure them
Yes.
that they're at least going to look good, even if they say the wrong thing or whatever. They have to have confidence that looking good on camera is very important.
Oh, yes. And with, this high resolution, everything shows.
Hmm.
Every pimple, every ingrown hair, everything shows. And like I said, with the male talent, it's a little simpler. It's a little concealer. It's trimming eyebrows. It's hiding. Sometimes they come in with a little bit of razor burn, and so we just kind of neutralize that and hide that and powder them. Little lip balm. Sometimes they get haircuts because I am also a licensed hairdresser, so I have also given haircuts on the road. And for the women, as of course, it's more fun. It's whatever they want. We do a quick consultation if it's someone that I'm not used to. And even people that I work with on a regular basis to kind of find out, what do you want to do today? And hair up, hair down. Do we want it straight? Do we want it wavy? And we have to take into consideration, what's the weather like. If it's super, super humid, are they going to be
Hmm.
out in the pits a lot, or are they going to be outside or inside a studio? All that helps us decide what we're going to do. And of course, makeup is more glamorous on the ladies. Yesterday at Fox, we had like some of the most gorgeous women: Jamie
Yeah.
Little, Shannon
Hmm.
Spake, Caitlin Vinci. I mean, aside from they really are as wonderful in person as they look. Like, they really are just awesome. So working with the women is sometimes more fun, but I'm really grateful for working with the men because there's more of them, and that's what helps me make a living.
Right. So I saw a really nice picture that I'm not sure if it was Caitlin or who posted it, of her, and I'm not sure who else was in the picture, but it was the four of them that do the broadcast, I think, and
Okay. That
they
was
looked
probably
beautiful.
Caitlin and Shannon and Larry Mack and
Yes.
Jamie McMurray. So
Okay.
there
Yeah,
were
it
four
wasn't
of us.
them. It was
Yeah.
must be Fox people. I'm not sure,
Yes.
but anyway, and I knew we were doing this today, and I was thinking at the time, I wonder if you did their makeup and things. So you did.
I got to yesterday. I did just hair. Um, I worked on Caitlin Vinci with Lori Hobler, and then two other people, Lynn Mann and Kelly Coulter, worked on Shannon Spake, and we just kind of like tag teamed to make sure everybody looked their best before they did their interviews, because they were filming promos for the upcoming season.
Hmm.
So it's also nice working with NBC, with Fox, because the Glam Squad, that we like to call ourselves, is such a
Hmm.
nice team. We work together. We're not in front of the camera, and all we know is that we all pull together. Nobody keeps score. If someone did more people, we just take care of our talent. That's what counts.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you work for like the NBC or the Fox, and if you
Right.
can't answer anything that I ask you, just say I can't really share
Sure.
that. But are you paid by NBC and Fox, or are you paid by
Yes.
NASCAR? You're paid
No.
by
It
okay.
depends on who I'm working for. So when I work for Fox, I get paid by Fox. When I work for NBC, I'm paid by NBC Universal. And I've also worked with NASCAR Productions, which is owned by NASCAR. So it really depends. I've done work for Disney. I've had work. It's opened up a big thing, but living in this area, Race City,
Hmm.
USA,
Yeah.
um, it's been mostly sports, but it's opened up other doors too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And once they have you as part of their team, and everybody likes you and you do a good job, then it's like, oh, can you do this job or that job? They're not going to go outside and try to find somebody new when they already know somebody that can do the job, right?
That seems to be, and it's a nice community just with the professional hair and makeup people. I mean, I've had calls where one of my fellow makeup artists had to turn down a job. They were booked for something and they recommended me, and I will do the same for them. There's
Hmm.
no point in just turning down a job and leaving a production hanging. I mean, someone's going to get the job. I'd rather recommend someone that I know
Yeah.
would be as conscientious as I hope that I am.
Right. And it makes, it benefits you if you can help them out for the next time around. So that's always good.
Right. And it promotes camaraderie within the glam squads also.
Yeah, for sure. So, you've been to a lot of racetracks. Are there any that are your favorite to go to? And do you get to watch the race?
I can see the race. A lot of it depends on how it's set up. Most of the time, I am in the makeup trailer. I take care of my talent. They go off and um, sometimes they will bring me out on a golf cart, like before my talent goes back on air for touch ups. Sometimes I will be at the pit box with them for most of the race, where I'm actually on the infield with earbuds in because it's loud.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on what the needs are at the time. Sometimes I can watch it from the makeup trailer. So that's as far as how much of the race that I see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's interesting to hear, some of the guys talking while they're in the makeup room, what their predictions are. So it's really kind of cool to see who ends up being
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
And I love that the talent that I work with on NBC, as well as Fox, that um, the talent, if the race car drivers real that or former retired race car drivers really know their sport and they love the sport, and they see and call things from their perspective, and then you have like professional broadcasters that just really know how to keep a show tight and about timing and how to intro things, how to segue um, into different areas. So it really is, as much as I've been doing this since 1984, it's still, it's still nice to see and learn things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, things change from year to year too. So I'm sure, that happens as well. Do you have any favorites that you like to work with, or when you see them, you just have a special connection to them?
Um, well, you know, during race season when I'm traveling, Kyle Petty is just one of my favorite people, and all the things that he does with the Kyle Petty charity ride is
Mm-hmm.
just really amazing. And so I don't have like anyone that I would not consider a favorite. He stands out. Dale Jarrett is also one of those just really warm people. Like when they sit in my chair, they ask how my family is, and it's a conversation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're some of my favorites. The women, Caitlin Vincey's been a favorite. Shannon Spake, Jamie Little. They're just and even Krista Voda that I worked with for a few years on NBC was one of my favorites. I couldn't think of anyone that I didn't enjoy working with. Um, Broadcast people are a little bit more used to being in the chair. Sometimes when you're doing a driver for promotional shoots and videos, they're not always comfortable. But it's my job to make them feel at ease and to not be self conscious,
Mm-hmm.
although they do like
Yeah.
to tease each other a lot.
I'm sure they do. Absolutely. That's what they do. On and off the track, they do that for sure.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So, what would you say is your favorite part about this job?
Uh, I love the bragging rights that that I get to work on, and my work is seen on television. Um, I like that I have the best of both worlds, that I have a small little hair and makeup studio where I work on regular people by appointment, but I also have production work. So I have one foot in both worlds. And for me,
Hmm.
it works out great because I'm able to schedule what works for me. I mean, my sons are all young men now. So, but when my boys were younger, and I wanted to be more involved with their lives, it was really good to be able to have the flexibility
Hmm.
to work when my and be able to take jobs because I knew my husband was home, and to turn down things, if there was something important for one of my boys. So I really loved having that flexibility, but that's not something you get when you first come out of the gate. It took a long time
Yeah.
to establish myself to get to that point that I could turn down a client or turn down a job and not be terrified that I'd never be called again.
Right. Exactly. Because everybody has a life. That's the thing I think
Mhm.
people forget. We all have lives outside of doing hair and makeup, doing Women's Motorsports Network, driving a race car, whatever it might be. And so I think more so nowadays, even than back when I worked, an 8 to 5 job. Nowadays, I think people are much more conscious that families come before work sometimes, and those things are important. And so I like that part about, like you said, yes, you have to get yourself established, but then they know that you're not turning it down and you're not being lazy or any of those things, that it's because of something important. Otherwise, you would be there. So
Right.
that's important as well.
There has to be a balance. And I mean, maybe this is a little bit old fashioned notion, but I have told people, at least in my industry, I have had young girls reach out and ask if they could interview me for a senior project. They want to get into this kind of business, and they always want to get into the production side. How do I get to do makeup for TV? How do I get to do makeup for film? And but one thing the advice that I would give to somebody who is ambitious is that, if you're going to have a family, you absolutely can have it all. You just can't have it all at the same time, more than likely. So you have
Hmm.
to pace yourself a little.
Right. And so, obviously, you went to school for the hair and makeup,
Yes.
but there are some jobs in NASCAR that you have to have certain degrees for. But really, what got you to where you are is not only your cosmetology skills, but then also your relationship building skills.
And that's something that I wasn't even aware of at the time, but looking back I realized, oh my god, how fortunate I was that I connected with somebody, and the next time that they were doing a commercial, they would ask for me, or somebody who's in charge of picking the crew for a job remembered and would call me. So
Hmm.
you can't fake caring.
Right.
So, and you still need the skills, and you still have to try to always stay current, especially if you're working on in television, because like you said, things keep changing. I mean, just think about what we're doing now. 10 years ago, who would have ever thought that you in Arizona and
I'm in
myself
Arizona at
here
my daughter's. Hmm.
would be able to even to have this kind of conversation and
Hmm.
have it be available to so many people who choose to watch.
Right, exactly. So, that's one thing that, I have to look back at COVID and see what good things came of it. And actually, that's one of the things is that I think people realize that they can communicate better than through a text for sure. And they can do some pretty amazing events, even if it is through Zoom or StreamYard, which is what we're using. And we can share this, like you said, there'll be hundreds, if not thousands, of people that watch this later after we share it out on social media. And how could we have ever done that in the past? We
I
couldn't.
know.
We couldn't have. And so this is a great, for me it's great. I've been able to meet so many amazing people through social media and then have them as guests, and then they become friends from just being able to meet them through StreamYard, and then at some point, hopefully, meet them at the racetrack wherever our lives bring us. And so I love that part of it because I've just made so many amazing friends through this, through this system. So,
Well,
um,
NASCAR is also a wonderful community, and
mhm,
having never really known anything about it, um, the community itself, and it's not just the visible people. Just to share with you, my husband passed away from COVID last year, and it
oh,
was
I'm
a
sorry.
complete shock. Thank you. And the outpouring of love and support from
Hmm.
clients from my salon, and also from the NASCAR community, I can't even begin to tell you how, even though no one could fix it, no one could make it better, but just knowing that there was this fuzzy blanket of real
Hmm.
care from all levels, from my
Yes.
bosses at NBC to, just everybody that I have worked with, my fellow hair and makeup people, the crewing people, our production managers. I just had so much love and support to me, to my sons, and you don't always get that with big companies.
No, that's true. And I relate to that so much. My son passed away in 2018, and
I'm
I
so sorry.
actually live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but I was in Phoenix. This is where my youngest two daughters live. And I was out here in November for the championship race that year. And so when he passed away, I was out here. And my son was the race car driver in the family, and he was the one that had gotten us all interested in racing. And so, the dilemma was, do I need to go back home? And everybody said, you're at the racetrack, that's where he would want you to be. But the people that reached out to me, um, and even, it was people that maybe I had a little bit of an acquaintance with, but
Right.
not really a close friendship. But I understand what you're saying when you just feel the love and the caring from your race family. I call them my race family. And sometimes they care more than a real family does, but not mine. My
Mine
family's great,
either.
but there are families that aren't always as loving as they should be. And so and anytime someone gets hurt or they lose their race car for some reason or another, there's just so much caring off the track, and that's what I love about this sport.
Yeah, I've really grown to respect it, as a business, as a sport. Um, one of the interesting things is, you'll have people who know nothing about racing roll their eyes, and it's like, oh well, they drive in a circle, they're not really athletes. But honestly, I mean, especially modern drivers, I mean, these guys work out. It's
Mhm.
stamina, it's dealing with heat and
Oh yeah.
concentration and focus, and they are truly athletes.
Oh, absolutely. I can think back this last summer. It was 140 degrees in the race car during one of the races, and
And then the fire suit.
in a fire suit, and then
Yep.
the cooling shirt quits or the whatever. And I'm with you too. People are so judgmental about, oh, they don't play football or they don't do this. I would put any of those other athletes up against a NASCAR driver any day of the week, because I know that in order to maintain their ability to withstand all kinds of temperatures, all kinds of situations, quick thinking, all those things. I would put my NASCAR drivers up against any other sport, and I think they would come out as well, if not better. So I'm prejudiced, Kim. I love my NASCAR drivers. I love all kinds of racing drivers, but especially I think it's not fair to say they're not an athlete. It's like I was a cheerleading coach, Kim, for 10 years, high school
Really?
cheerleading coach. And the girls that played basketball were like, oh, cheerleading's not a sport. Well, yes it is. Let's see you do some of the things that they do. And so it's kind of the same thing, and I used to have to stick up for all my cheerleaders.
Sure, sure. People kind of get in their own little bubble. but and sometimes it's not even intentional. So about before COVID hit us really hard, I got to work on a project, and it was a roundtable project about women in motorsports. You would have loved this, and I wonder if you could find it. But it was Caitlin Vinci hosted it, and it had some of the up and coming drivers, Haley Deegan, um, Kelly Earnhardt Miller, who was just amazing as far as
Mhm.
a businesswoman in the
Yes.
sport, plus a really awesome person. Um, and they introduced some of these women that you wouldn't always think of.
Mhm.
And there was a young woman who was actually was on a pit crew. I mean, this girl is changing
Mhm.
tires, and
Yeah.
she, uh, because NASCAR is also really trying to bring more diversity. But this
Right.
young woman was a woman of color. Aside from being beautiful, she
Brianna
was
Daniels.
yes, and
Uh-huh.
my God, she was not only beautiful, like we hardly had to do anything to her, other than take a little shine down. But I mean, you could see even, in her street clothes that this woman is just such an athlete and
Mhm.
smart and savvy. And
Yeah.
and I can say, when we watch some of the clips of her, she's as tough and badass as any of the guys. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
because no one's going to put somebody in that position that could make or break a win if
Right.
they can't do the job, and she's outstanding.
So Brianna Daniels, and then I've met her a couple of times, but another gal that is also a tire changer, and her name is Brianna as well, Brianna O'Leary. She and I become friends, and she's just a young gal, probably in her 20s, but she was a college athlete, and that's what they look for. They look for those athletes that have the dedication to
Mhm.
a sport. They have the training and that. And then I have another friend that's a young gal. She's in her 20s, I think, as well, maybe late 20s, is Liz Prostella. And Liz is a tire specialist. So she makes sure that the tires are all like they should be for the teams and that. And so, there's so many opportunities in motorsports for women. Every girl wants to be the driver, Kim, that,
Yeah.
that's coming up. And we know that's just not going to happen. It's like every young baseball player wants to be the pitcher or the first baseman.
Mhm.
That's just not going to happen. But there are so many other possibilities for them to stay around the sport, have an impact on the sport, and especially as women, to show that,
Yes.
hey, I can do this too. And so that, you said to me, oh, I don't know how good of an interview I'll be. Well, you're a great interview, because what you're showing me is, no matter your experience, no matter what your past, where you live, how old you are, how anything at all, there's opportunities in motorsports for women.
Yes. And just, a little side note, my middle son and his wife were both in the army in Alaska, and she was already um, finished with her contract, was in the reserves and working in as a civilian. My son was going to renew his contract, and then of course when his dad passed so suddenly and unexpectedly, they decided you were coming home. And my daughter-in-law has always wanted to be was working in human resources, but she was doing working on a unpaid internship when they first came back. They moved back home with me, and just to so I wouldn't be by myself in this big house. And my daughter-in-law was doing an unpaid internship in HR, and a client of mine had said, gee, do you think she'd want to do a temp position, that we have in NASCAR? And I said, well, I'll give her the information and then I'll step back and let her handle it. So my daughter-in-law was like, oh, that sounds so exciting. I don't know anything about NASCAR, but that's so exciting. And she did her intern. She did her 6 week temp position. It became available. They had to open it up to everybody, and my daughter-in-law ended up getting hired. So she is now working in NASCAR in human resources, And it's never not a company she had thought of at the time.
Mhm.
But I mean, I just talking with her for the last 6 or 8 months that she's been working for them. I mean, she sees this for as her long term. This is her long
Yeah.
term career,
Mhm.
and she loves it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And as in any industry or any workplace, there are a few people that maybe are not your favorites, but overall, I think the mentality of the people in motorsports, the I'm trying to think, the atmosphere, I think, is unusual as far as a lot of other companies. I think it's a caring business. It's a caring, company to work for. NASCAR and NASCAR related companies, and just from what I've seen and the people that I've worked with, what little I've worked with, some of them, they're always willing to go out of their way to do whatever they can do to help you.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of families. I mean, the France family. I mean, and the early days of racing. I mean, there was a time where the driver and his mechanic were brothers, and they were doing all their wrenching in their garage.
Yes.
And they weren't making big paychecks. It was just completely the love of the sport, and
Hmm.
how they could push the envelope. And you can see, even with marketing, they were encouraging families. I mean, they love to see mom and dad and a couple of kids, and bring and introducing a new generation of
Yeah.
fans.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just, I can even feel and hear talking to you that you have a love for motorsports and NASCAR that, was not something that you grew up with. It was not something that anybody encouraged you to do. It kind of fell in your lap, but
Yes.
I can hear in your voice the passion that you have for it. And the doesn't it make you feel good? And I think you said this, to know that you're a part of something way bigger than ourselves, and that we're making an impact and providing entertainment for
Yes.
people. You're doing your part to provide that entertainment. And so I just can't, I just can't think how I would be happy doing anything else other than being a part of motorsports.
Right. And for myself, I mean, there are very few people that have the same career or same job for 35, 40 years, and I still look forward to going to work.
Right.
I'm
Right.
still excited to get my
Hmm.
schedule for the NBC race season. I
Yeah.
was so thrilled to get a call to work on yesterday's event with Fox. It was I still look forward to it. I still get a little bit giddy and excited,
Yeah, for sure.
whenever I get to work on something.
Well, and the other thing about sports in general is you never know what's going to happen. So there's always that little bit of the unknown. Maybe who am I going to do makeup on today? Maybe sometimes that's a surprise. You just never know who you're going to meet, at the track. And it's funny, today I was running a couple errands. So I'm in Arizona until tomorrow. I go back to Michigan tomorrow. So going from a dismal 50 some degrees in Arizona, it's not been that warm since I've been here these 2 weeks, back to Michigan, which is in the 40s. So not much different. But I was running a couple errands today, and I was in Target, and I was looking at something, and I happened to hear a lady say Kyle Larson,
Oh,
and she and two other ladies were standing there looking at some things, and then they were talking about something else, racing. I heard the word racing. Well, knowing me, I can't just let that go. I can't just walk away from that. And so I walked over to them and I said, I'm going to butt into your conversation. My ears perked up when I heard you say Kyle Larson. And the one gal laughed and she said, "Oh, I'm a huge race fan." So I handed each one of them one of my business cards and told them what I did. And we stood and talked for probably 20 minutes or more about racing, and the one gal who was really into the racing, Kyle Busch is her favorite driver. Well, anybody that knows me knows Kyle Busch has been my favorite long before I was in the Women's Motorsports Network business. he's always been. And she says, well, how do you feel about him moving? And I said, I'm happy for him. I think it's going to be great. And she did too. And it was just so fun. But who knew that when I went to Target today in Glendale, Arizona, that I was going to be talking to 3 women about racing. And it's just so fun. You just never know who you're going to meet.
This is, yeah. I have so much swag from the two broadcast companies, from Fox, from NBC. So, and I wear a lot of it. I like it, and it's
Sure.
really, really nice looking stuff. And I just love getting the swag anyway. And that sometimes opens up conversations. If I'm wearing an NBC jacket or I'm wearing a Fox hat, and it just sometimes is just you start a conversation, like you said, in the supermarket, or even coming out of the state park. I take my dog hiking in the state park on my days off, and someone will say, "Oh, you know, Fox NASCAR or NBC NASCAR," because I'm either wearing a hat or a jacket.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how there are universal things that can just start
Hmm.
conversations that may completely go away from NASCAR, but it gets people talking.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funniest part then about the whole thing is that the one gal who was the biggest NASCAR fan was born and raised in Coldwater, Michigan, which is less than an hour from where I live.
No kidding.
Yeah, she lives out here now and has for a number of years, but really small world for sure. So, you just never know who you're going to meet, and you have to be ready and prepared and open to those people.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Kim, I have really enjoyed talking with you. And what I want you to do when we get off the air, and once you get your schedule for NASCAR, I'd like you to send it to me because
Oh,
I'm
yes.
hoping to hit several of the races this year, if not a good number of them. And maybe we can meet in person. Wouldn't that be fun?
That would be lovely. That would be
Yeah,
lovely. And you
absolutely.
actually were so kind when you first invited me, and I said, "Oh yeah, great." And then I thought about it, and I said, "Oh my God, she's going to be stuck with somebody who was like complete draws a blank." And you were so gracious when you said, "Oh, I know you don't know a lot about NASCAR, but you're in motorsports, and
Hmm.
it's a way for people, for women to see that all the opportunities, not just the obvious."
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I love doing is opening up ideas for women, for young girls to be like, "Oh, I love doing hair and makeup. I want to be that's what I want to do for a living. Maybe I could at some point do this." And so this has been a great interview, Kim. I
Oh,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
you being on the show tonight. I just want to ask you, a couple more things and then I'll let you go.
Sure.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you feel that you would like to share about your job or anything related to NASCAR and motorsports?
Just some of the amazing opportunities that it's opened up for me. Aside from the people that maybe not everybody in the world recognizes every driver, but I've been able to. This has opened up. I got to work on a documentary about 5 or 6 years ago. I got to work on former President Jimmy Carter, and that was like amazing to me. And it was the first time in my 38 years in the industry that I was a little starstruck.
Oh.
But and it was and it wa- and he was being interviewed for a documentary about how when he was president, and how NASCAR ended up becoming more nationally recognized because of some big storm, and none of the other sports could be broadcast. So the Daytona 500 was going on at the time, and they
Oh,
filled in
okay.
that time, and it just kind of opened things up. And then we had a Southern president, and but that opportunity, like that's kind of like one of my things that I'm really proud of. Just that I was able to meet a living legend. That was
Hmm.
just, and regardless of what your politics are, he was
Right.
just the most gracious, amazing person I've met.
Yeah, absolutely. That's interesting that you say that. um, my brother-in-law and sister actually, when they took a trip, they drove down towards Florida. They stopped and went to church at his church, and he still teaches Sunday school at his
Yes.
church. He's in
Yes.
his 90s. Yeah. So they went to Sunday school and they met him, got a picture with him. And my sister said, like you say, regardless of your politics, he and his wife were just so gracious and just, they just talk to you just like they're just anybody, on the street. They're not anybody special.
Well, it was interesting listening to him doing his during his interview. Was hearing about how when he was running for governor, he was doing a lot of his campaigning at the racetrack in Atlanta.
Hmm.
It was a friend of his was the owner of the racetrack at the
Yeah.
time, and so it was really interesting how that kind of he went from the governor from a peanut farmer governor and then president of the United States. And
Yeah.
I think even more important is what he did after leaving office.
Yeah.
Like he didn't sit on his laurels. I mean, he really his humanitarian
Hmm.
projects are just something to be admired and to aspire
Right.
to.
Right. And the fact that he worked with other past presidents of both parties. And that's something that, we could all take a lesson from, is to put some of our thoughts and that aside and work together for the common good. And that's what he did too. So
Yes.
um that's pretty exciting for sure to have that. I'll have to share my president story with you really real quickly, and you'll be able to tell what party I was helping. But I I ran so I years ago owned a weekly newspaper in a little town in Illinois where I lived and grew up, and got to be friends with the senator, our state senator, and I had a lot of opportunities because I became friends with her, and so I met a lot of amazing people, which also led to me being the treasurer for the Illinois Federation of Republican Women. So I was the treasurer, and then at one point later on, I was the newsletter editor, and I met some amazing people in politics because of that relationship. So I have pictures with Ronald Reagan. I have
Oh,
pictures with Elizabeth Dole, and I have pictures with George Bush, the dad, and just had some amazing experiences that kind of fell in my lap because I wasn't expecting that. Was never on my bucket list, but those are meaningful to have those and have
they
those
are.
pictures. Hmm.
They
Yeah,
are. I'm
for
and
sure.
every year when that comes up that program that I worked on, when it comes up in my memories on Facebook, I am shameless and I just repost that every year. It's
Absolutely.
something that I mean, when you think about what I do for a living, I mean, nobody, you know, I love what I do. And if I always just stayed in a salon, that would be fine because I still enjoy it and I still have an impact on people. But I've been so fortunate and so blessed to have expanded and had a
Hmm.
really interesting career, always within my field, but it really meandered
It
in
sure did.
quite an interesting way.
Absolutely. But what a great career. And who knows what's to come, right, Kim?
Yes, who knows? I mean, it allowed me to to teamwork with my husband and raise our family and put three boys through college.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
I am very grateful for that, for the
I'm
ability
sure.
to be able to take care of my family as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Kim, I'm going to let you go, but I want to finish with this. Normally, my friend Brett Timmerman is on the show with me, but he has taken a new job and sometimes he works late. And so I never count on him anymore. But if he shows up, that's awesome. But one of the things that he started when he and I started this, I call it a social media show. We always say that, motorsports is a family. We love our race family. And so now that you have been on our show, you're part of our family. And so we always say at the end, welcome to the family.
Thank you so much. And when I get my race schedule, I'm going to let you know where I'm going to be. And hopefully, we're going to be able to meet in person and I can give you a hug.
That'll be awesome, Kim. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you so much again for being on the show.
Thank you, Melinda.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
So that was Kim Chapman. Um, Kim was or is a makeup and hair artist for NASCAR and Fox and Disney, and as she just shared with us, um, lots of other things. And what an interesting job that she has. And so I'm so glad I had a chance to have her on the show tonight and share what she does. I'm still in Arizona. I'm actually in my guest room at my daughter's. I have my own room, I have my own bathroom. It's awesome. She takes very good care of me when I'm here. I'm headed back to Michigan tomorrow. I apologize if the video was a little bit jerky tonight. I have a new webcam. The camera built into my MacBook has died, and so I had to go buy a webcam, and it's maybe not exactly what I want, and so I'll try to update that before next time. But just wanted to thank Kim again for being on. There's been a lot of exciting news this week in motorsports. And if you don't listen to other podcasts, I'm sure you see on Facebook, Twitter, and all those places. But one of the most exciting for me is that SRX is going to be racing at Berlin Raceway, Berlin, Michigan. It's about an hour and a half or so from my house. I believe it's in August that SRX is going to be there. That track is managed by Jeff Striegel. Jeff is an announcer for MRN, Motorsports Racing Network. And I'm excited that he's getting SRX there. And it's been announced that Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch are both going to be racing that race. We don't know who else is going to be in there, but I'm excited that the two of them are. And so I'm getting my tickets today as we speak. And if you live in the area, you should get your tickets because I think they'll sell out. That's a great facility to watch racing at. That track is amazing. And it will be a lot of fun to watch the SRX series there. So that's all the time we really have for tonight. I, again, enjoyed having Kim on. If you or someone you know would make a good interview, either here on our social media show, Let's Talk Racing Live, or if it's someone that would make a good interview for my recorded podcast, let me know. I would love to meet up with them, talk with them, and see about that. And then also, I'm always looking for stories for the Women's Motorsports Network news magazine. So anytime you come across the name of a gal who should be celebrated and connected with other women, please reach out to me and let's get them either on the show or in the magazine. So that's all for now. I'm leaving the sunny skies of Arizona tomorrow, headed back to the gray skies of Michigan. But that's home. And so I'm going to be heading back there. And next week, I'll come to you back from my office and not from the guest room at my daughter's house. So have a great week, everybody. And I'll see you at the track.